Good morning. Hope you're enjoying some beautiful weather this week. I looked at the forecast. Looks like it should be pretty good. Hey, I want to share something I picked up from Bob Goff. And as a matter of fact, I want to tell a little Bob Goff story. It says here in Galatians 1:10, and then I'll share that story. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God, or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Now, when I get in the pulpit, in this situation, I believe that God's called me to preach. And it means I don't just give my opinion. I really try to point people towards Jesus. But one of the things that after decades of public speaking, specifically preaching, I now can stand up in front of a crowd of people and look at their faces and tell you absolutely nothing of what they're really thinking. And I was just sharing with someone what happened. I was at Christ Church this past week with their greenhouse crew, which is senior adults, and great time. And there was a younger person that was there, and I guess as I'm preaching, I'm thinking, oh, they're probably not liking what I'm specifically speaking on. I don't have time to go into the details. I had no idea who it was and just thought they're there as a caregiver probably, and they don't want to be hearing me preach or whatever. And then afterwards, the person that they were a caregiver for called me over and said, enjoyed your presentation very much and very kind. And then this younger person, probably 30-something, reiterated it and then went on to say, oh, you remind me of Bob Goff. I'm like, you remind me of somebody who just made my day. I mean, that's Bob Goff. I mean, that's rare air. So it's just funny because we often think the wrong things. We think we know what people are thinking, but we don't. So we shouldn't worry too much about it. Bob Goff tells a story about when he was in kindergarten, the school put him in a program for gifted and talented kids. He can only imagine how proud his parents were for being selected. But unfortunately, he said, I only lasted for 1/2 of the first day. They kicked me out of kindergarten, not just for the day, but forever. I don't know how that works. But he didn't even really realize what was happening. He'd never been to school before. So when he ended up in the principal's office, maybe he thought he was getting a prize or something like that. And then his mom came, picked him up, and he was only like a little bit aware that in a general way that he was in trouble. I think he's always been kind of, in a good way, a nonconformist. He just thinks outside the box. Well, after a long time inside the house alone, he said, I went outside where my mom was midway up a ladder with a paintbrush. And the only thing she said was, I'm so disappointed in you. And then she went back to painting and she had never talked about it again. Now, he doesn't fault her for that. It's not like he's bitter about that, but it left a mark. And sometimes we think we know what people are thinking and we want the approval of people, and we shouldn't try to, get people to hate us. That's not the point. But I do love this verse, and what Paul's trying to communicate to the folks in Galatia is you really need God's approval. That's the important thing. You need the approval of Jesus. And it's available. If we live the way that he wants us to, he'll be pleased. The Father was pleased with Jesus, his Son. This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased. So you have tapes. So I go back to when I was a kid. There was, I talked about this recently, growing up in Chicago, lost everything. Being the younger brother, lost everything. And so I really kind of had this wrong mentality that, remember tapes? Yeah, it's kind of a thing from the 80s. But it's just these messages. You pick them up from mom and dad. You pick them up from siblings. You pick them up from friends. Jesus wants to rewrite your tapes today. Don't live for the approval and worry about the disapproval of other people. Let Jesus rewrite your tapes and live for his approval. Live for an audience of one. God bless you. Have a great day.